We have started 10 minutes late. I would like to welcome all of you at our panel within KIEF International Forum. I'm Dasha Zaryevna, founder of the Vector Business Media. We are the first creative business media, and we write about Ukrainian technological industry and creative industry in Ukraine. Therefore, the topic of our panel is creative ideas and tech for expert. Before introduction of our speakers, a couple of logistic issues. First of all, we would like to have lots of questions from you. I was told that probably you are not willing to ask lots of questions, but you use Telegram for asking questions. So here is my Telegram, and the sponsors of today's question from Telegram, Pavel Durov and Yuri Pivovarov, so please be active in terms of sending your questions. And we decided to start our panel with voting, so please put voting page, voting form on the screen, and here we see it. The question is what Ukrainian business, which is foreign market oriented, you would like to invest in? Advertising agency, outsourcing IT company, and product-based IT company. We do not have here representatives of outsourcing business, but you understand what it is about. In order to vote, you either go into Telegram bot or you go to the website slido.com and to find this voting number, and then to vote either for the first, for the second, or for the third variant. And then you see what kind of voting we are going to have. Probably we should have our presentation on, and let's from time to time bring the voting form back, and we shall remind you that you can still do it. And at the end of the panel we shall see what kind of results we shall have and what representative of what business will be the most active in terms of advertising and promoting his or her business. I would like to introduce our speakers. Here, the first one is Julia Patrick. You see her in the screen. She is a PR and media manager at MacPo company. Please raise your hands, those who use Apple PCs. And who has Clean My Mac program? Julia, actually you have the field for action, you have potential for growth. The MacPo company is one of the most famous Ukrainian product-oriented companies. For more than 10 years, they provide applications for Apple PCs, and the profits from this area is 80% of company's revenue. The applications of the company are used by more than 35 million people all over the world. Now they try to develop their own application shop for operation system of MacBook, which is entitled Setup. There are more than 40,000 users of Setup, and again, altogether they bring more than $3 million a year. So welcome, please, Julia Patrick. Good morning, good afternoon. Then we have Pavel Wrześ. He is the co-founder and creative director of the agency Banda, which is probably one of the most famous Ukrainian agency. This year they have been real newsmakers because for the first time they brought to our country the Lion Award, Cannes Lion Award for branding for Eurovision 2017. Probably you remember the slogan, Celebrate Diversity, and apart from it, they also have the record number of red dots. So it is probably the most famous, the most prestigious award in the field of design, so their company have it. And also, they made up the Ukrainian branding Ukraine Now. It was widely discussed in Facebook. I think you at least either liked it or commenting it. So please give you a round of applause to Pavel. And our third speaker is Victoria Repa, chief of Better Me company. And this is the dark horse in the Ukrainian IT industry because for the recent year they have made a huge breakthrough. The company Better Me works over 4 applications. 2 are fitness applications and 2 more are about yoga and meditation. And fitness applications are where it went to the top list of American App Store, and for the year, more than 15 million people downloaded the application, and every month they have more than 2 million people who use their application. So for us to become active, I want us to start the panel with a short questionnaire, very brief questionnaire. So we have 30 seconds for the answers to the questionnaire. Pasha, we shall start with you, your 30 seconds. Elevator pitch from you. Why the company which are present here should order rebranding from Banda? They do not need to do it. Why? They don't need to do it. Somehow I'm not prepared for elevator pitch. What is different from us is what is different about us is that we are craftsmen. Lots of PR agencies are opened by managers and business people. Probably we are the only agency in Ukraine which was set up by creative people. We are product-oriented people, so that's what makes us different from all the other PR agencies in the country. Because the question to you, why in Instagram advertisement on your application, which is Healthy Life application, you just break the sand with a spoon, and you also do something with a soap. Yes, this is meditation application. It is not about fitness. And peculiarity of digital marketing, digital advertisement is that you have just 3 seconds to make a person get interested in your product. So that was the point we use in order to make a person interested in meditation. If we want to focus on mass market, you should not start talking, please meditate, please reflect, but the video you were talking about is something that switches off autopilot in you. Yulia, the question is to you. I would like to provide a brief explanation. Yulia Petrik probably is the most famous promoter of Ukrainian IT. Therefore, the question to her is like that. Yulia, what should be the subject of the email for the journalist to open it? Well, first of all, it should not necessarily be an email. Sometimes Twitter is much better in terms of communicating with foreign journalists. But what always works, your name, emoji, smile, or some just name of the topic, emoji just in the subject. Okay. Pasha, why Ukraine now is a good brand? Because it's about current situation. It's about current Ukraine, not yesterday's Ukraine. It seems to me that's very important. It does not have the message. When we have some knowledge, we'll do something. We do it now. Vika, what is your favorite application on iPhone apart from Better Me? I do not have my favorite applications. There are about 20 which I like very much. These are the biggest competitors of Better Me because all the time I try to see how our competitors work. So probably I'm a bit paranoid. If we manage to do just for 1 year what people in America managed to do for 5 or 10 years, probably there will be some more people who will be able to do what we have done even faster than we. Therefore, we have to see what other people are doing in order to be ahead. Yulia, provide 3 pieces of advice how to make our good acquaintances during the conferences. 3 pieces of advice. You have to identify what kind of acquaintances you need. You should understand, you should know how they look like, because there were cases when we were supposed to identify a person on the basis of his profile photo, and definitely you should know where they are, and you should have special icebreakers, how to start the conversation, how to make a person friendly to you, etc. Pasha, do you have certain works you are ashamed of? Yes. When I started, I didn't know anything about design. I bought a computer, I bought Photoshop, and my first works were just awful. But they were so awful at the time that I actually did not notice that they were bad, and I showed them to my clients, and I was naive. And I open them now, and I just say, fucking awful. Vika, do you use Clean My Mac from Apple? And I'm very sorry, but unfortunately not. I use. So Yulia, you have potential clients all around you. So that this is the end of the questionnaire, and I would like to get to the questions we have to discuss at our channel. How do you get to the point when you understand that your company should go to the global market? Our company, MacPo, started its history in 2008 when the founder of the company, Alexander Kasavan, was the only student in KIEF Polytechnic University who had a MacBook. And everybody was shocked, both the students and the teachers. And the launching of the product and testing it on the local market was out of the question at that time. Now the number of MacBooks in our countries is growing. We see that growing tendency, but at that time nobody could even think that the product will not be foreign market oriented. Sasha was writing that product for himself. He put it in the open resource. He went to bed, and in the morning he opened his website, and there were lots of letters saying that's something very useful, please go with it. Pasha, what was your story? When we opened our agency, we didn't have any clients, and because we didn't have anything to do, we organized table tennis club, and we started producing posters, and we were working with tennis table teams. So why are you trying to popularize it? Well, the most probably bright feature was that we didn't have even the table for table tennis. And one of the marketing directors of one of the companies came to us. He wanted to get acquainted with us. He said that they organize a tender among European agencies related to football communication. We participated. We were the winners of the tender, and we organized the first campaign for 7 countries. Everything was very simple with us. Better Me project is the project of the company Genesis, which is one of the largest food-oriented company in Ukraine. When I joined the company 2 years ago, the company had already a number of projects foreign market-oriented. It was business in Kazakhstan, media business in Africa, some projects in Latin America, and probably our business, the first application started with statistics. We saw that 70% of American people are overweight, and just imagine, probably in our countries we do not have this situation, but the number of overweight people is growing, and just imagine in 10 years 8 out of 10 people will be overweight. So this is an epidemic.
In addition to that, this is the first fundamental trend. Another trend is the fact that we have great experience in digital marketing, and we have Snapchat in the world. We have direct partnership with Google. We feel no problem entering foreign markets. It all started with the fact that weight loss is a universal human pain. US market is the market we have to get launched at. And I've observed a trend that you all have. For example, Riddle, that you can compare with MacPo, a company that produces applications. They have an office in San Francisco where there are several people. But KIEF has got some of the office here, and there are people who live elsewhere, but not in your structures, in your companies. the entire resource is located in Ukraine. Haven't you given a thought of engaging people from other countries? And the second question is, what people do you like most in Ukraine? Which professionals? And how do you resolve that issue? Yulia, please. Well, I agree that a lot of companies diversify their teams and hire managers and sellers from abroad. Makpo has got an employee in the United States, the first one, and it's the only one. He's responsible for the BizDep. Probably this is the role that currently is weakly represented. The person is there and he is active selling, and the Americans sell themselves as gods, and this is something that we lack, and we can do away without any other assistance in other sectors. We've had some failing partnership and had some good relations with the American PR agency. Let me tell you that the launch of the setup, we finished with them the launch of the setup 60-0 when I produced 60 publications, and on the launching day they produced 0 publications. We do have sources, we do have staff, but unfortunately not in all the spheres. Do you have any problems with the staff in HR? Yes. Who do you like most? What type of people do you like most? We quite often, that's the main difficulty, we look for product people, product managers, the one who are aware how to build up products, how to test the necessity and how to develop the product, how to launch it onto the market. And probably developers is another group we need, because there's a crazy competition in Ukraine. I'm not gonna even tell you about the Silicon Valley, because we're talking about skills, we're talking about the salaries. And Pavel, well, we were kidding around. We need to reopen office in Kiev because the amount of work to be done in Kiev is just enormous. We're not looking anywhere else and to set up a new office. We started with the international branch, and now we decided that our success is to help companies like Better Me, because if we start selling creative to the Western market, we'll take it from the Ukrainian market, which Ukrainian, so there are only a few agencies and their products in demand, and if you start producing something for the Western companies, you deprive the local companies, and we need to be helping Ukrainian companies to conquer the world and not to be expert in creative stuff. I think this will be better for everyone, and so we decided to because we were proud at the beginning, so we created a company meaning that we're not small or weak, but now we decided that this is our market. We would like to get concentrated in the market, to allocate effort, probably. So you just hacked my system to the fullest, by the way. This is true, because we sell intellectual stuff. We don't produce the end product. If we were to do it for other companies in other countries, we will help those companies in other countries to grow, not the Ukrainian companies. So this is not quite a good thing, but shall I tell you about people? You've said it all. We know everything. Yeah, but we still want the Ukrainian creative stuff be as popular as possible. We want. Well done. Now tell us about the people. Well, we like creative people. I mean, like creative people that can actually work. Quite often these are the two things that do not go together well. Art directors, copywriters, designers. The art designers, copywriters, you don't have you cannot study this at universities. You have lots of universities with departments of marketing, but they teach you things that you will never be able to apply in your real life. So there's a big gap. There's a lack of people who can do things. I don't even know how we cope with that. That's why you've decided, yep. and we resolve only 0.01% of all the problems that we face in Victoria. I think that we underestimate our assets. We have great potentials when it comes to development, and we have lots of professionals. I do have a problem. Probably I won't be able to find a person on the market that that knows well digital marketing. But again, here I'm being guided by the principle of Marisa Mayer from. If you can find the right people, you will make them. So I hire general people from the market, people with the right mindset. No one has taught me how to develop applications. 2 years ago, I joined an IT company from the FMCG sector. But the key mindset is your wish to build something, to develop something. So the wish is the key, not the experience. Especially it's when digital field, when there are changes happening all the ways. Now, please put on the screen the results of the voting. Thank you very much. And we already have a question that I'd like to ask the guys. When will the first Ukrainian creative Hollywood or creative Silicon Valley come to existence? Should the state do something to help, or can the state do anything, or simply leave it alone and never interfere? I mean, the state should never interfere. Pavel, we're talking about the outsourcing of IT companies. I think it's already starting. I think that being inside, we don't see it well, but if we check how the results that the Ukrainians have working in creative business, we're talking about the interior set and they win awards, advertisement. Yesterday, Ukrainian production studio has become the servicing company of the year. They produce films and short films and videos. Radioactive was awarded that award. This is amazing. This is a big win, and you have to do a lot to be awarded this type of award. And I think that a lot has taken place with restaurants and architects. I think we're already there, but you cannot see it from the inside. But I think in 10 years' time, people will say, "Wow, there was an explosion of creativeness in Ukraine." Girls, would you like to add something up? I would say that never interfere with what the business do, and this is the minimum that we expect the state to fulfill. I agree, and from the point of view of creative, the better mission and so on and so forth, the marketing expertise, what we develop in a year's time, we've produced more than 5,000 marketing creative items for Snapchat and Facebook. Meanwhile, our competitors produce 10 times fewer, but they are 10 times more expensive. And now we see why we can compete so fast and cheap. Do that, never surrender, never give up. We are no worse than the guys that work abroad. I have an offer to give to the state to support the creative sector. Show the people that the creative sector is important, it does matter. So people realize that creative sector is important. Every day in the newscast we hear about the agrarian sector, but we need to be talking about the IT sector. So people should be telling more, but the government should be telling more and more about our sector. People hear it, people would respond. If it's important, if everybody's talking about it, probably we need to invest, we need to get trained in this field so that the sector gets bigger and more visible. We need to be talking about it more often. Make creative great again. So we've got one more question. So since the audience of the KIEF Economic Forum the bigger share represent the businesses that are not directly linked to the creative and IT. Now, what can the business distance from IT and creative sector borrow from your companies? I think digitalization it always erases borders, changing geography, lifting barriers, and this is what the business should peep into. But these evident things, and a good start of many companies, software companies in Ukraine, is that there's no barriers to sell the products. You simply need to set up a good product, This is the key thing, and then you have to spread it through digital channels. That would be my main message, and for the business to listen to and to follow. Masha, what about you? I don't know. I want them not to try to be liked by anyone. So sometimes business wants to get adjusted to everyone's wishes. And when the people start communicating that let's write something not to hurt anyone so that everybody likes it, then the communication kills the business, the good business that has just been created recently. So I want the business, both in the product that they produce and in the communication about the product that they produce, I want them to be as not go pop. So you open up a web page of a company, you see the perfect posts, only 3 likes, but everything's like a pop culture. I don't understand how can people on one hand are like crazy breaking through everything, but when it comes to the communication, they've been as if they've been substituted, becoming a pop type of performers. So what is the reason for that? The reason is that I don't know. I think that they're not well aware that you need to communicate what or who you are. Because people think that advertisement is telling about something you don't have. You have to invent something, you have to add certain skills or traits that you don't possess. But when we build up brands, brand is just like a human being. If a human being is perfect, smart, speaks well, you don't want to invite that type of person for a birthday party. You want to invite to a birthday party who is kind of crazy a little bit. Think about the people you'd like to be hanging out in your real life. So a perfect person that when being next to him, I feel as a complete stupid idiot. So no, I don't want to invite that type of people to my birthday party. So I worked for many years for a corporation. Then I switched to a different sector, IT. Fail fast and cheap was the main approach, and we plan like 3 months ahead of time the new initiatives, and at the same time in a week's time we can say, oh no, we're following a different, we're going to change our direction, pursuing different paths. So I think you need to apply this approach and don't produce long time plans for a long time perspective, because the world is changing fast, and if we plan something for 1 year and if we realize that we are following the wrong direction, you need to go back to your team and you tell them, let's change, let's act more and plan less. Does anybody have questions from the audience? Top 3 pieces of advice to a newcomer. So you all have set some bases that you started with, and I'm a startup newcomer. I want to be as tough as you are, cool as you are. Don't have money, definitely. I'm hungry. I'm irritated, angry. Please give me a piece of advice to start.
I would like to start talking about investments. For instance, now I understand a lot because I study in Stanford. We actually overestimate the investments. Believe me, there are more funds than can do something about them. It's not difficult to find the investments. There are lots of accelerators that can promote your growth. And I would like to give an example. I was in Stanford this summer. It was executive program for growing company. I'm 25 and there were people who were 35 and 45. So just abroad to start your career at 25 is not real. With us it's possible, so please do not miss your chance. And when I started talking what I was doing, people actually probably hated me because immediately I got requests. Do you want to go to Canada or to Barcelona? because if you show some track record, if you show that you are a reliable person, there are lots of venture funds and usual investment funds that have money, and that want to invest these funds into interesting projects. But from the very beginning, you have to show that you can generate some cash. You are a reliable partner, you are a trustworthy partner. Believe me, there are more money all over the world than people who can grow or who can increase this money. So do not be limited with the statement, I cannot find investments, therefore I cannot grow. Probably 7 years ago, I could give an answer: do not work with very clever people. When we started, we didn't know anything about business. I didn't know what budget is. I didn't know what agreement was. I didn't know how to do timing, how to organize advertising campaign. And still, we opened our company, and we almost became partners with very clever people, but then somehow we deviated a bit from them, stepped aside from them. And the point is that clever people know what to do, and you start following his recommendations and his advice, and you think that it's okay. And then all of a sudden, you understand that they can only talk and they cannot do real things. And in Two Partners, we saw the same person, and his company was actually on the point of bankruptcy. But we, who didn't know anything about business at that time, managed to survive. So these clever people, they are everywhere. They are ubiquitous, and still I would give myself a piece of advice to understand how you can identify these people and to not to get close to them. So probably summarizing, stay naive and be daring. My piece of advice would be just learn English. The piece of advice I give to my daughter. Another question, let's probably go deeper a bit, and the next question will be addressed to Pavel. I was at the festival to which you were awarded, and I got acquainted with an American citizen who has a big media company. He has a number of medias. Is it Gary Lee? No. So it was somebody different. So we got acquainted with him. He has a big media company. He is a veteran of Iraq War, and he organized just an audience and started selling on the basis of e-commerce certain products to this audience. And he told me that he was going to visit Ukraine, and he said that he needed branding for my media company. I really was trying to bring them here, but there are some other marketing agencies which were more quicker. But again, it's a new tendency for me that American businesses attend such festivals, and they actually are interested in Eastern European countries and local agencies regarding their branding. So what do you think about this tendency? Why it is so? How can you comment it? I don't know when it appeared, but I do feel that it's really like that. For instance, we have some requests from certain agencies in Hong Kong, but they really are interested in our market. And recently we had a visit from one of the Arabian leaders, and he brought his Rolls-Royce with him, and he parked it in front of our agency, but he was also interested in a project. And really the tendency is like that. I don't know why it is so, but probably it started about 2 years ago when Ukraine started doing something in the field of design and branding, and probably they started noticing it. I understood why you were present in Cannes and Red Dot, so probably your primary aim was to get some foreign clients, and now you have made a shift that is not understandable. We want to show that we are the strongest. What was it only ideological reason that you have decided to decrease your amount of work with foreign clients and to concentrate more on local clients. You definitely get more profits from foreign clients. No, we try to not to take those who just want to get European branding. If it is a big international company and if they come to us and if we are interested in it, it doesn't matter what country it represents. So for us, it doesn't matter whether on our website it will be written, we have 3 international markets and you were working only with 2 cafes and all the rest of your things are here in Ukraine. So for us, it doesn't matter actually. So far, Nike is not our client, and we have to do many things in order to become popular and famous. But we do have some creative ambitions. We would like to compete because now we are not afraid. We do not have the fears we had in the past. Recently, Ted Royal came to us, and he is one of the strategist in one of the best agencies all over the world. So he came to us and we started talking to him and we asked him to show his strategies. Really, it's interesting to know how the, let's say, advertising gods do their strategies. Okay, we just took him to lunch and to dinner and he showed. And we asked, is that it? So that's it? And where is the miracle? And where is this super strategist? And he said, yes, that's it. And somehow it became very comforting for us. We understood that, well, you should not be a god to do something. It is not that complicated. And probably when we get some experience, will be able to do something like that or even better. So this competition point, which is important for me. I probably take a different approach to this. It's really great that Ukraine stands out from the crowd, so to say. But regarding my experience of communicating with media market in America, I would say in technological world there is this division, Silicon Valley and all the rest. Last year, Product Hunt organized a series of awards, and it was called Ukrainian Media Oscar in the field of technology. And there were 7 nominees from Ukraine, and these were 7 product companies from Ukraine. And as a result, 3 were awarded, including our. And I know that the Prime Minister put a Twitter post with us. Twitter of Chernigivsky is an important market for us. We became famous in Ukraine, that there was the media campaign, we are the best. Just imagine how many foreign editions wrote about nominations in Product Hunt. Nobody, none. Because actually it doesn't matter where the very product comes from. These boundaries became very vague, and when I deliver my lectures, I start with this vaccination against love to yourself. We do have potential, we do have our strengths, but please try to support these competences with real awards, real projects. Just because you are from Ukraine, it doesn't mean that you will be interesting for everybody. And once one of the person from the audience came to me and said, well, you opened my eyes, because in the past I have always started my speech with the word, we are a young company from Ukraine. And once we had one of the companies closed its business in New York, and all the global medias wrote about the bankruptcy of one of the galleries. And when the gallery was sold in the auction, the collection of these old Macintoshes was bought by our company, and I went with the same news to these editions. I said, well, it is saved, it's okay, now you can exhibit it. All people come to see it, to attend this museum, and we have it here in Ukraine. And there were journalists who were writing about it, but there were two answers from very big editions who said, okay, unfortunately our readers will not go to Ukraine, therefore we are not going to publish your article. And I'm 100% sure that if instead of Ukraine it was France, the news would become more popular. That's okay that you have saved that collection. That's super, but unfortunately. So we really have to understand that though we are from Ukraine, we have great potential and we have great prospects, but still you have to do something apart from stating it. Okay, a good idea from Yulia Petrik. And the next question is, until recently nobody actually knew about Ukrainian application that has huge number of downloads in App Store. Why you have been silent, and why you were keeping silence about your presence in the market? Yes, we are quite modest, and there are certain external factors behind it. Actually, the project started only 1.5 years ago, and there was only one person in the project, me and one more person, and now there are 30 people working on the project. We have some plans for the future. We want to ensure 3 or 4 times growth. And now it's important for me to get the best people here in Ukraine that will build up the first Ukrainian unicorn and will make tens or thousands of hundreds of people healthier. Okay. Victoria, I have a question to you. By the way, I wanted to ask you, if you launched such an application now, what kind of niche would you choose apart from health and healthy lifestyle? Now we have 4 applications, and in the nearest years we are going to extend it up to 10 applications in the field health and fitness. So it's all about health, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy soul. So it's all about this. Talking about lines, what is interesting for me, I like masses, people, and universal sensitive things for these people. So definitely it is more interesting to sell what all people need. What is weight loss? It's a universal. Women pay, it's meditation. Depression will become number 2 after ischemic diseases. So therefore, probably dating will be interesting. It is also the mass segment. And probably what might be interesting for me is gaming lifestyle. But so far, health and fitness is what I'm interested in, and I would like to become number 1 in global corporation health and fitness. Probably I would like to address our audience now, and probably this time we have one question from the audience. Please. Be brave, be active, raise your hands. Does anybody have questions? Because in Telegram, yeah, we do have a lot. Let's make it live. Is it possible a question about culture? The cultures are different, but the culture of your team is felt. How do you form, how you support and maintain that creative culture within your team? Yulia, probably you will be the first.
Well, this is not a problem. The company was founded by a student, Makpo, and the first employees who were hired were friends, group mates, neighbors, classmates, and then there was a critical moment when he ran out of friends, and friends of friends were no longer available, so professional people were being hired then. And the fact that the company was launched by friends actually shaped the cooperation and the amicable culture and atmosphere in the company. There's not a company in Ukraine that I know that would be so much open for initiatives, and last year they turned 10 years, and I didn't go to the bosses. I attended Alexander's, I went to Alexander's And I said 10 years, that's a great anniversary. We're not going to be celebrating at the sailing a yacht with inviting Anya Lorak, Ukrainian pop singer. Let's launch 10 different projects in different directions: assistant cities, assistant green ecology, assistant children. And it was, and it's not a human being from a CSR manager should be driving this, but the very people. And this initiative last month was supported, and we sent people would participate in sorting for the sake of sorting. We're talking about the waste free of charge. So we have these creative initiatives supported by not the management's order, but it's rather because of the human wishes that it exists. Because of age peculiarity, people are of 25 to 7 years of age, that's the average age. This what kind of creates and shapes that basic focus of the company, and all the initiatives are so much good and so much encouraged. So people like it. Everything's what is offered actually comes into life because people want it. People feel being part of that. The culture is not good, didn't come to existence at once. We had to work developing it, and so people would simply burn out from inside because we are very demanding of the people, and we were thinking that producing great projects is the only best thing. But then I read about growing champignon notion. To have good champignons, you need to keep them in darkness and spray them with shit, fertilizer. And I said, gee, that's about us. Damn. Yeah, that's about us. So we started thinking, what do we got to be doing? And we started reading books and everything. But then we run into the thing that you need to be given processes or things or events the right name, which shapes the culture of the agency. And we have a teleport, and we have recently we by accident produced one of the best Parents' Day. We invited our parents into the company to show what we do, where we work, so that they be able to see each other, to meet each other. I mean, the parents, and I think that was like a miracle day, because parents all of a sudden started being extremely proud of their kids, because the parents have seen what their kids do. They were so much proud. Wow, this is my son, this is my daughter doing this. They were crying, they didn't want to go away, and the kids wanted to show their parents, so they're not just sitting around doing nothing, bumping around, but do stuff that does matter. It was a miracle. Who came up with that idea? Our HR manager. And I've been following you on the Instagram. I think you have got one of the best corporate SMM strategies. You show a lot of inside stuff, and I like how you hired new people, like the onboarding process and how the people would pitch about themselves. They would even show small videos. Well, you know more about our agency than I do. We have a new person in charge of Instagram every week, so it was a random choice, and this is how it works. I looked at Vector team, and get ready. Tell us about the culture. I'm kind of ashamed with it. We've been on the market for 18 months, and it's only a year ago that we have our team. We don't have any culture. We delivered the results, and our average age is 25, and we got plans for the 3 months to come. We're simply attaining those objectives, having no culture. But speaking about things that can describe our team, recently a man joined us, and he had worked for corporate SMCG, and he said, and asked, why do you like working at Rami? And he said, it's easy. We just like wild, aggressive dogs, hungry dogs, and this is something that helps us to deliver the results. And these are the people much fatter than the people from New York City, from London, and those who invest in tens of millions and we have 5 to 10 years of experience, which we don't have. So we have that wish to attain results, and I'd like to ask each and every one of you about the money. Let me start with you. Setup is a very expensive product that it's very hard to get launched into the market. Where did you get your money from, and what did you start with? Setup. So the idea about setup came to existence in the 8th year of the company, and we did have some financial strength accumulated. This is not the product that a beginning startup can launch. But this is a bootstrap company that didn't engage any investment from the inside, but using internal resources. And just like you said, clean market is a heavy thing that helps us to produce financial opportunities and enables us to experiment on the market using different products. And I'm aware that somewhere in France there was a startup with a similar business model, and they have failed to show big results. So the business was similar, and we knew about it when we started engaging other developers to join the platform, and they said, hold on a second. Recently we've been written about this, but we're asking who wrote you. So we've figured out that there was an idea. I'm not sure if the company still exists and it's been shut down, but they've failed. Because you need a lot of investments, voluminous investments, but as of now we're a self-financing company and we are doing good without any external assistance. We've had some good growth trends, and we hope it will continue. Aren't you afraid to produce a product linked or pegged to the platform of a bigger corporation? Are there any risks? I wouldn't say it's scary, it's just risky, and our business depends a lot on that of Apple, and every FATAP is the conference where Apple rolls out its novelties in June in California, and we hold our breath, we don't sleep. I mean, we people in Kiev and people in California, there are 20 people, they're shaking, their hands and knees are shaking, they go into the hall with the presentations, everybody holding phones, because anything can happen actually. There's even the special words that I used, Sherlock, is when Apple is presenting a new thing that kicks out from the market players. So this may happen to any application. When, for example, Apple last year in iOS launched the capacity to measure objects with the iPhone, and about 10 mobile applications were simply kicked. So they can set up a application that would kick us out. Yeah, definitely. But the only thing that keeps us quiet is that they are more interested in mobile market, because market are like dinosaurs for them. But still, for us, this is a sign to peep into some other directions as well. We're dependent on the platform, and we're well aware of the risks. That is why we're looking for opportunities. We validate the ideas, and we check opportunities to mitigate the risks and to be able to capture markets. How much money have you invested, and when did you get to the point of break even, and what are the steps that you've made to become important in terms of monetization? We've invested 10,000 USD plus 500 of Ukrainian hryvnias. 10,000 I've invested, and we lived on that money. That was 7 years ago. For us, it was a lot of money. And then we ran out of the money. I mean, literally, we ran out of money. The clients hadn't paid us a penny. So Yaroslav, my partner, went to the bank to get a loan. He went to the private bank. He showed all his papers, and he was allowed to get 500 hryvnias per month. That was the credit line. So we have 10,000 USD plus 500 hryvnias. What about the break-even point? That is ever since the first project, 10,000 is the amount of money that is easy to recover. So in 2011, the economy was not that much strong, so everybody was like struggling. And by 2014, we started to raise. And then in 2014, the revolution erupted, and over the 2 recent years is when we've been feeling pretty good. Is there any managerial decision that you think has proven to be cool and super? We have realized that the largest amount of money is what we get from the tender and bidding process. Lots of agencies don't want to be participating in the bidding process because they're afraid to win. During the bidding process, you can have a good price tag, because if you have number one idea, there's not a company that will choose idea number two only because it's $10,000 or $20,000 cheaper. No one. No one will reduce the budget to go for the second best solution. So if you participate in the tender and if you feel you well done, you can write on the price tag as much as you can. But everybody's afraid of that. Everybody thinks, well, if I offer cheaper solution, I will be elected. No, you will be selected if you produce the best solution. So this allowed us that jump from 10,000 to the amount of money that we currently have. What is your model of monetization, and how many active users do you have per month? And another question is, Denis Shaganov from Litval says that in App Store everybody competes with their price and with the location. How do you convince people to pay for the subscription you offer and for the product? So you've just answered the question. That's the subscription pattern. Subscription, just $10 they have to pay to use this software, compared to the fitness club. It's like having 3 cups of coffee for an American citizen, like $10 per month. You have a personal trainer at the training at the gym would be $500. So, and now we work even more, develop an artificial intelligence, machine learning to make these plans even more personalized and to be attaining our objectives more efficiently with our consumers. So this is like a personal coach on losing weight and healthy lifestyle. We recently attended a conference in Amsterdam. There's lots of new ideas, and currently we try to engage more data science people, and we hope there's going to be a disruption and our competitors have never done before. We have a huge database on the behavior of the consumers of the health kit, and we have more than a lot of that stuff. And answering the question of what Denis Janov has answered, we're different than Riddle. It took us about a year to shape what we are, and they, ever since App Store was launched, since 2008, they exist since 2008. With regard to the price, probably I'm talking about a lifestyle application. The price is the last thing that you have to compete in. Absolutely no. If your product is good, the consumer will pay for it. $10 or $20 or $30, doesn't matter. The consumer, the user, has got a 7 days of trial, $10 to $20, they don't really care. The price is the last thing that we look into in order to compete. With regard to the organics, the traffic has got to be paid for. We haven't been in the market for 10 years like Riddle. Yes, we have great aggressive marketing through the Snapchat, through the Facebook, Google, and for us, the understanding that we will be competing at Web Store, no way. For the application to be number one when somebody is searching for it, so you need to maintain record so that you are being featured. So, and our new meditation application is good. We've been featured by Apple in 144 countries. Please, what do you mean, like to be featured? It's when you go to the App Store and you see certain Apple categories with iTunes, and for example, we've been featured in the category of new apps. So this allows us this produces additional boost, so that more users visiting the iTunes store will see this application. Boost is like promoting, yes, thank you. The lady's been using lots of English words. And not to repeat once again what you have just said, you have a Telegram. How did you switch from FMCG to IT? What was the stimulus and what were the difficulties?
Well, I felt bored in Procter & Gamble. Everything was fine, but I felt bored. I was 1 year with the company. There was IT school genesis. I became the best student. I was taking on the project. And from the beginning, I was in analysis of media market in Africa, just because I was bored and I wanted to have some challenge. Later, I was given a project. It was the business of application. I wanted to have more work, and for 6 months, I was one on that project. I had only losses. But I liked that period because every day I was eager to go to work. I was eager to do something because at that time I understood I was doing something new, and I was actually taking 120% of my efforts. Now nobody can make me work in the corporation. They can know that you won't be able to find any stimuli. What was interesting was the very idea of startup. When you come up from the corporation, you have a manager who is supervising you. But when you start your startup, you're alone. Nobody's supervising you, nobody's guiding you. You are responsible for everything you do yourself. And now when I hire people, I have actually 10 key people in operations and marketing. I take them from before sector. They have 3-5 years of experience, and lots of things change very quickly. You have to be on the go all the time, and actually nobody takes care of you, and I try to make that transfer a bit smoother for them because I was in their shoes. And now we have very friendly atmosphere. We have 10 key people who came to us from international companies. I just see already the interview with Victoria Repa, and the question, how do you spend your free time? I'm involved in, I try to make the non-profitable business applications profitable. By the way, here I have a question, how old are you? Probably we should not ask it. I'm 37 actually. I also forget the figure. Pasha, I'm 34, and in a month I'll be 26. Oh, we have a question from the audience. Probably we should have a prize. So 1,000 hryvnias for the best question. My name is Sergey. The question is to Victoria. You were talking about Ukrainian unicorn. Are you that ambitious? 1 billion? Yes, for sure. Why should we start doing something if you don't want to get on the top? If we have 3 or 4 times growth, it will be just that 1 billion. And you have predicted my question. So now you are worth 250,000. Okay, I cannot talk about any evaluations and estimations, but we didn't so far have any investors. So the investor is usually doing the estimations. Yeah, but we do have some great ambitions. Yes, we have a question, and you have your driving force, but what about burnout? You have your life, you have your projects, and if you drive all the time, there will be professional burnout sooner or later. Well, that's the topic. Just 1 year ago, I really felt that burnout. I really underestimated the amount of energy which is necessary for the decision making. So the bigger the company, the less tense your schedule should be. So I have just noticed that if I spend 8 hours in the office in the company, 4 hours just spent not on something useful. So you should be honest. If it is about decision making, then probably you should find certain sources where the energy is recovered. So I understood the first point, that I spent too much energy, and then I was trying to understand where I can recover it. And all of a sudden I understood I am good at cooking. So, well, in your life, you get energy sometimes from very simple things. everybody goes jogging, and okay, you start thinking about going jogging or meditation, but sport is not for everybody. Vika probably will be the one who may contradict you. Let's say sport is not for everybody. Some people have to do some manual work, and embroidery and knitting has always been in Greece. They were all in pottery, again, doing something with your hands. Elite also liked all this stuff. And I couldn't understand where I can take energy, because I thought, well, energy should come from something great, something cool, and it should be something like very serious, like jogging or I don't know, weightlifting, and all of a sudden just cooking in the kitchen. I also have a case from the previous year, from the period 1 year ago. I communicate with people a lot because I communicate with people. I go to conferences and to forums, and I remember that last year I was so tired and I decided not to go to one event, and everybody's asking me, why don't you go, why you decided to skip it, and I just answered, no, I won't go. And all of a sudden I see a small-scale event, and in the past I would never believe that I would refuse to go to Barcelona for a week, but that was the period, and there is the term fear of missing out, and I have found an opposite one, joy of missing out. This is when you are happy when you miss something. So when I took that decision not to go to that conference, I just enjoyed it. There were a huge number of calls and messages in Telegram, because the journalists and investors is the subject of hunting for all the start-uppers, and they try to go to some separate places, and there are special Telegram channels where they communicate where they are going, what are they doing right now, and I really had lots of that messages about what they were doing in Barcelona, but I actually was not even reading them. It was not interesting for me to know what they were doing there. And at that moment, I understood that you should be very attentive and very careful about your resources and your energy. It's really necessary to take a rest during the weekend. Sunday and Saturday should be your days, and they should be spent on your rest, not on doing what you didn't have time to do during the working days. I have lots of my colleagues, they are my friends, but still I try to dedicate my time to my family, and I try to be very careful with planning my time and my trips. It's difficult to talk about burnout. I'm just 25, so therefore probably it is not my topic. I'm working 24/7 and I'm fine. I'm active, and health and fitness, we have the best experts we could only find in Ukraine, and I probably tried up to 50 variants of meditations, because we all the time are testing our products on ourselves. But I would agree that sometimes I feel exhausted, I feel weary. For instance, this summer I was in Kilimanjaro. It was the most complicated route, and you had to get up at 12 a.m. and you were walking in the night. It was very cold, it was slippery, and I was going up, and there were a couple of photos where everybody could see how it was difficult, and I was thinking I wouldn't be able to do it. But when you reach the top, you understand you've done it. And after this, you understand, you feel that you have unlimited amount of energy. You forget about this exhaustion, and that was a good trigger for me. When I feel very tired, exhausted, I understand that you still should go further, and when you get to your point, when you get to your destination, there will be a flow of energy, and you will make it. And when I was in Kilimanjaro, I understood the next journey will be probably Everest. We have 10 minutes for the questions, so please raise your hands if you have questions, and we have one. The question is to all the speakers. What do you read? What inspires you? What makes you creative? Or probably you will name the last book you've read. You were afraid there will be questions about statistics and figures, but you see, the questions are different. Principles of Ray Dalio. He probably is cooler than Soros. He's the head of investment fund. He had just very quick career, and he described all his principles of hiring people, his life principles. So Ray Dalio probably is a must if you talk about your life principles. If you develop your business, there is a very interesting book, Netflix, from HR people, how they managed to build up Netflix culture. It is for entrepreneurs. So if you want to organize a quick startup, it's really a good book about decision-making process. What are people? You cannot treat your people as if it were your family. First of all, this is a team, and you are the trainer of the team. And you should really take weak people from the game. Vika, what is your attitude when people feel tired and you have to motivate them? We do not have overload. We organize the process in such a way that they will have additional workload. It seems to me additional workload is because appears because you have bad management. If you manage everything, if you plan everything in a proper way, you wouldn't have over workload, over time. I do not remember the book I'm reading right now, but it's about money. I have to clear up that point. So, well, we understand that we have some money, that's okay, but I would like to have a deeper insight into the topic. But it's boring, it's really boring. A person who will write an interesting book about the money immediately will become famous and rich. Before that, I was reading about meditation a lot. Meditation is a great topic. How do you motivate people when they work too much, when they have to stay overtime? It was the initial period for us, we were just talking to people. Okay, you understand, you should stay a bit late. But now I try not to talk to people, but I try to set an example. At 6 or 7 o'clock, I leave the office, and because sometimes people just do what the bosses do. So I come late, and I leave the office at about 6 or 7 o'clock. But my colleagues said that once they were staying late, and definitely we are not stimulating people to stay overtime. If they are motivated themselves, if they want to do it themselves, if they have some ideas and they do not want to postpone them for tomorrow, that's okay. I remember the time when I was doing it myself, so that's okay. But we do not encourage additional workload, and we never try to praise people for our working additionally, etc. Yulia, what about you?
Answering the question about the books, since I am in the media space, feels like I never let my brain to dream In the morning I read podcasts. En route to work I read the digital book. Then I monitor what you've been written about, what your competitors have been written about. I read fiction. I have a diploma in philology and I like good books, and if the book is about love and happy love, that is the best that can happen to me. At the weekend reading the book of the kind, I'm crying, so if I cry, that means the book is good. Now I read a book, I don't remember the exact title, the book Club of Potato Skin, about the war times when people would be saved by a book club. Tough conditions, tough setting preceding those events, and if I was to describe my work, I think at the age of the technology, it's the people who do the business, and it's so much important to be able to stay in touch like humans. And this sympathy can only be triggered by art, the cinema, the books, the music. I'm all for fiction books because business, and there's a lot of information in the business. So that's why if I can list you 10 books that could shape you up and target you, set you to attaining right values. But talking about the work, our HR all for observing that life-work balance, and we can work distant. By the end of the year, I have 70 days of the distant work that I haven't used up yet. I'm thinking what to do. There's not even a wish to escape the office to use up all those days, but yeah, you can work from home, you don't have to be at the office. The most important is the objectives be attained, and again, there are overtimes when there is release time, but again, this is kind of cool. The Clean My Max X, the most recent one, you know that you have to stay until night, and then you have Scroll Master from McDonald's bringing you the food from McDonald's. So this is a part of the culture in a way. We enjoy it. It happens rarely when there are important moments when we have committed with the mass media that there's a certain day that we're going to be rolling out our product. We have to do everything possible and impossible for the users to get the latest version, but this does not happen quite often. And those rare moments, they are most likely exceptions to the rules, and everything is okay. We relax and rest, that we can restore recovering. And I would like to back up what you've said, that when you have overtimes, rare overtimes, this is cool. You have that romantics, you have that cool stuff about that work, teamwork, but yeah, when you have overtime every day now, that's a nightmare. Rare overtime is great. And when we're going to flashback, checking the best moments of the year, the overtime times are the emotional peaks that we remember best. Now let's summarize. Let's take a look at the voting result. And hold on a second. I thought that people would vote for the outsource more, but we see that the product IT company has won. Advertising agency 15% and outsourcing company 14%. Let's go back to the main slide. Let's put it back on the screen and summarize. Pavel Zhech, Yulia Petrik and Victoria Repa, representing 3 businesses that are producing cool stuff, and they produce it outside of Ukraine. We've learned a lot, unexpectedly a lot, all about corporate culture, about how to tune in the process, how they got their money, first investment money from, how they achieved the success. We even asked them about potential Ukrainian private Hollywood. And the last question, before the beginning, you told me that you want to talk about pain, about difficulties as well. So for this positive vibe to be added with something that would make you think, tell us what is difficult and what makes your work more difficult, work in developing a global product from Ukraine. My story is Ukraine still has got weak brand. Ukraine is a weak brand. There was a case of at a forum, the users were discussing at a forum that somebody had to contact the service, support the service, something didn't work with Clean My Mac, and the users want everything right here, right now, and the letter was in the chain. And there was a comment that said, well, you know, they're from Ukraine, there's a war going on, so we don't know when they will respond to you. So they thought that we also participate in the war, and the war hampers business, and people right at the height of the business combat actions were asking us if we guarantee that, what if I buy a product, that product will exist in several years, but why there's a war going on? What are the risks? Will it happen that you simply disappear? Setup is a huge horse that everybody was betting at, and we also bet on that horse, but consumers also had some doubts. They would ask if you are a reliable part, we are reliable partners to be giving money to, if we are going to save the market for some times. What if you disappear tomorrow? Because this region, when I'm talking about technology, this store is being changed towards the better products, but at the same time, there's a popular topic that all the hackers come from this part of the world. And a colleague of mine who works for Apple, I asked him, how are you perceived by your colleagues? I asked him, what do you know about Ukraine? And he tells me, no, they're not convinced that we have not skilled. They'll joke about the fact that this is a hacker. He is from Ukraine, he is hacker, because everybody thinks that all the hackers are from this part of the world, but sometimes, well, and the most recent story, just the other day, the Forbes wrote, there was an article written in Forbes that Ukraine is a secret for the Silicon Valley. Everybody's coming here, their salaries are low, the level of the outcome of work is high, and I was like, and they had the flag, put up the flag, and this is a good piece of news, and the title is great, provoking good emotions, you even want to cry. But then an American journalist living in France writes a comment, you good in everything as I see, and there's a story from The Guardian when telling an Odessa oligarch laundering money of Odessa port and coming from Odessa port, and he was posing as a dead person, but actually he was pretty much alive, living in a castle in France, and I don't even know how to react to that. So this is a good story on one hand, but then we have this story. Well, and I write, well, there's always things to be ashamed of. And that journalist says, come on, he's my hero, but how come he got caught so easily? So, and this is what I meant, how he could get caught so easily, that person. I felt ashamed for that. So I urge everyone, there are 40 million of us, please make your contribution, promoting Ukraine, promoting the good name of Ukraine. We have everything that we need. Summarize, Ukraine has got a weak brand. Pasha, what would you like to say? I would like to turn this disadvantage into an advantage, because frankly speaking, it's quite often that the fact that you're from bad country of bad condition, it's nice to follow people like that. In art, for example, if you're a Ukrainian painter and you're relocated to the US, become a US citizen, and you become world-known American citizen, it's not as cool as if you had managed to become a world-renowned artist, being Ukrainian and being a Ukrainian citizen. I think it's tougher, but at the same time, you can be a lot more fun to hang out with. And in the movies, you always feel sorry, you always feel passionate with those people who are actually have to struggle through his life. And we're the country that struggles, that has been offended time and again, but if we manage to survive, sustain and rise, that would be the cool thing. And we have all the opportunities, and we're capable, and I think that the fact that you're not coming from a rich family, you didn't have all the opportunities, but you have finally reached your goals, that is cool. What are the difficulties? I've been thinking, well, let's take a look. You've said that you're not looking for foreign partners, but you still work, and what is the difference in between Ukrainian business and foreign business? Is there any difference cooperating with Ukrainian and foreign businesses? I mean, quality to speaking. We haven't worked for a long time. it's the people who make the difference, not the countries, because you have so many different businesses in many countries, and the difficulty, underestimation is the difficulty. There's no habit of paying for creative stuff, but we're to blame for that. We used to do horrible creative stuff, and people did pay for that. And I said, "Gee, it shouldn't have been paid for." Now things are better, and the creative stuff can produce something, but that's underestimation. To buy a cube, a Mercedes G-Class to guards is good, but doing something for the company that produces good to you, people say no, say it's kind of expensive. So they rather buy a Mercedes G-Class to their guards, but wouldn't buy anything good to the company that actually brings money to your bank account. So before you start saying about the problems that you run into, you are the star of our panel, because I've been bombarded with questions addressed to you. Where did you study? What school did you attend? Let me tell me my story. I don't have any IT experience, and I was born in a small village in Donetsk region, and I was lucky. I was one of 3 people who was given free grant to study at KIEF School of Economics. I was a good student there. I've been participated in everything, all the championship clubs and everything. So I was the only one that was hired by Procter & Gamble. I was financial manager of the grain logistic department for a year. The guys were moving the boxes, and I was collecting how to reduce the cost. You know, that is not business application, and all my time I've been thinking about, and I've been the only role model. I wanted to work for McKinsey. Nice guys would go to our office with good salaries. I couldn't even imagine that one day I would be doing what I am doing currently. And the key thing that I would like to advise is that I want the Ukraine to have more startups, more products, and more guys who risk, who don't work for corporations for a long time. And one more thing, learning from Stanford to Stanford, there's a good trend that guys go working for a big company for 1 year, for 2, Google or Yahoo. They got product marketing expertise, and then they got resell to a startup where they get equity, where they get a big chunk of responsibility, where they get a big role to play. And this is cool, because in Ukraine this culture is inexistent yet. It's hard to switch, to quit a big corporation, stable workplace into a startup and to start actively. This is something that I would like to have, because when you're 25 you can get more than guys get brought when they're 35. So I suggest that risk more, don't go to boring jobs. Thank you very much. That's it for this panel. Thank you for being with us for 90 minutes. Thank you.
Vector.
Ukraine Now, Creative Tech Expert. Thank you very much. I'd like to express my gratitude to the speakers. Thank you.